On today's edition of Colors of Life, I'm talking to Mrs. Chiadi Ndu, the founder of BTH Integrated Wellness and Therapy. Over the years, she's come to discover the connection between our physical well-being and our emotional well-being, and she's here to talk to us about that. Chiadi, welcome to Colors of Life.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Kalango.
It's so lovely to have you.
Thank you for having me.
You're a lawyer.
Yes.
And yet you're working in the space of psychology, counseling. How come?
I was actually called to the Nigerian bar in 1987, but you know how it is. I'm a lawyer because, I'm an art student, and, if you're an art student and you're brilliant, what else? You become a lawyer. That's the path but it wasn't me, it wasn't my thing. And I am sure heaven wanted me to be on this path because it arranged circumstances that made it impossible for me not to look inwards and look for who are you really? What are you really here for?
So what tell us about those circumstances.
My favorite scripture describing those circumstances is, I think it's the 2 Corinthians 1, where Paul said, I have been comforted with the comfort so that I in turn will comfort others. He was talking about the things he'd been through, Quite frankly, that is why I'm sure I went back to school to study psychology. I'd been through a lot. I lost my mom when I was 13.
Yes, you do talk about trauma.
Trauma, precisely. Yeah. Been through quite a bit of experiences, I lost my mom, and what was peculiar about that was that she died soon after my father had lost his mother and his father. As the first child, I have a set of triplet sisters way behind me, and everybody was worried about my father and my grandparents and how they're going to take it. Your father has just lost his parents, how your sisters. So everybody's eyes were on me, and it was important. A 13-year-old, that's a lot. I was bombarded with, you have to be strong. Your father mustn't see you cry. You must, your father has been through a lot. So in one night and one day, because my mom was well the day before, and then she got ill in the night and she didn't make it anyway. So in one day, I became a wife and a mother, just like that. Childhood was terminated. And if that wasn't bad enough, stepping into those shoes, not being allowed to express my emotions. So I became an expert at repressing and suppressing everything I felt, because it was pertinent that my father didn't see me cry, my sisters didn't see me cry. I just had to be strong. My mom's parents mustn't see me breaking down. What would her mom do? It was a rough place.
And you didn't think too much of all this. You just went on with your life. But fast forward some 20, 30 years, something happened one day when you were on a plane, and that began your challenges with health. Tell us about that.
Like I said to you, I wasn't allowed to process my pain. I wasn't allowed, not with any sinister intention, but because everybody felt that was the right thing. You have to be strong. What is your father going to do? So I became an expert at repressing and suppressing. But you see, I've learned over the years that the body keeps the score. Every negative emotion, everything that you haven't processed properly, especially in thoughts and emotions and feelings, it directly connects with your body. You'd be amazed that most people that are struggling with cancerous conditions, toxic feelings, a lot of osteoporosis, a lot of the things start from the mind. The mind and the body are so closely intertwined, and many of us have no idea that the body keeps the score.
And after the incident on the plane, there a few others you talk
Oh,
about.
yes.
Tell me one or two of them.
I just thought it was a regular, I just thought it was an incident. I thought, okay, maybe I was overworked, maybe traveling, maybe,
You were in the plane.
I was
and
in the
then you
plane
heard...
and I overheard an announcement saying, if there are doctors, can you come to the business class compartment? And I heard air hostesses around me saying to me, are you epileptic? You just had a seizure? And I'm like, hello, have no clue. Because the last thing I remember, incidentally, before that happened was I'd gone to freshen up because we're about to land, and I had bent down to pray.
And that was it.
At first, of course, I just thought it was a demonic attack. It's a one-off thing. It's not going to happen again, And I thought, and I continued life.
Yeah.
One day, I was going to drop my son in school. In fact, I dropped my child in school, and I was returning, and I had another blackout.
You were driving?
I was driving, yes. I ran straight into an uncompleted building. What saved my life that day was that the airbags came out. The car was a write-off. It was a total mess. It was just the mercy of God.
And there was once you fell while you were in the gym as well.
Once I fell while I was in the gym. Another time, in fact, my youngest daughter reminds me of it frequently. We were going to the embassy and I was trying to climb the stairs and I had a blackout and I fell down, I slumped and I fell. She was just about 3 then, but she remembers clearly how the security men were struggling to, what's wrong with you, madam? What's wrong with you? And, those were the kind of humiliating experiences. My memory went. I'd see people I wouldn't remember. I'd see my son. I'd know him, but to call his name, I'd call about 5 or 6. It was 5 or 6 different names. It was really very difficult.
But this led you to begin to research.
Precisely.
So tell us about that research and what you found out.
The principal thing was, of course, I went through all the medicals. I did an MRI. They saw some lesion in some temporal lobe, some part of my brain at the point. And I was placed on the medication. And then that was quite fine. But I knew that apart from the medical aspect of it, I had to pay attention to the spiritual. I began to pray intensely. I said to the Lord, what could I have done? Bad things don't happen to good people. That's my thrust.
Is there sin somewhere?
Is there sin? Is there some ancestral covenants or curse? I went through all that process. I went through that. So I knew the spiritual side was sorted out. But you see, the truth is that we're holistic. The Bible talks about spirit, soul, and body. My mind, I had pointed out to you, was in a mess. My spirit was okay. My body was a mess. I was totally overweight. I ate anything I wanted. A Christian, you don't smoke, you don't drink, you don't go to parties. So quite frankly, when you're not fasting, the only vice you're permitted is to eat. So I'd stuff myself with food. I was gross. Desserts, ice creams, those cakes, and knock yourself out when you've eaten well and go to sleep, I didn't know that there were complicating issues. Anyway, fast forward, I came to a place where I realized that you are what you eat.
We'll take a break here. And when we come back, you'll tell us the things you discovered that helped you on the path of recovery.
That would be fine.
We'll take a break now. And when we come back, she'll talk to us about what she then discovered that has helped her on the path of recovery. Don't go away. Welcome back to Colors of Life, where we're talking to Chiadi Ndu about the connection between our spirits, soul, and our bodies. Chiadi, you were telling us about the traumas you suffered earlier on in your life and how that played out in your health much later. And in through this experience, you then got pregnant.
Oh,
Tell us about that.
Oh, yes. At the peak of the illness, like I said, I haven't told you, my first child is 30 and my last is 13.
And in between, you have
I have a 25-year-old in between.
Okay,
yes.
so 2 boys first, and then your daughter.
My little girl.
And you're married, your husband, of course.
Oh, yes, and my husband. So this was me. I'd finished having children, so it was just me contending with this illness and and the symptoms, and one day I find out I'm pregnant. My first child, I think my first child was about 17 or 18. My last was about 12 or 13, and totally unexpected with this health challenge. It was, all my doctors thought, you must terminate this pregnancy. Mrs. Undu, we're struggling with keeping you alive. You can't. And certainly there's no way you're going to have this baby taking all these drugs. And you can't stop taking this medication.
So did they feel you could lose your life or you could lose the baby or what?
Not so much the baby. They weren't concerned about them. In fact, one of them said to me, listen, the baby is not my patient. You are my patient. I'm more concerned about you. What they were concerned about me losing my life, but more the anguish for the baby, the fear for the baby was the effect of the medication on her, Down syndrome, some of these congenital deformities. That's what they were concerned about. And everybody was like, why bring a child into this world that would be maimed and, dysfunctional? So it was a very difficult decision to...
So why did you not terminate that pregnancy?
Can I be very honest with you? I was deeply tempted. In fact, I actually went to the ONG to have it terminated. But before I went in, I just had I'd been praying, of course. I'd been praying. If I remember some of my prayer points, I had friends, I had family that were looking for children. I said, Lord, can you take this child and give them? Do anything. If this child must come, I would name my friends, my, family that were, but nothing happened. So that day I went to the hospital to finally terminate it because my GP had said, listen, you won't be able to make it, That day when I got there, I just decided to have a word with the doctor before I went in. And I told her the story, and because she wasn't my consultant, I told her the story. She turned out to be a Christian. And she said to me, Mrs. Undu, I'm professional. This is a decision you must make by yourself. It's between you and God. And that kept it kept on, She said to me, you know how much you can trust God. Can you trust him? And it was resounding. And I thought, yeah, can I trust God? I thought about how far God had brought me. But I was still indecisive. Then I went in to have the scan done because they needed to locate where the baby was so that they, at that point they called it embryo, fetus, But when I lay down, what finally sealed it for me was when they put on the scanning thing. What's that thing called, on the stomach? And I actually saw, it was less than 6 weeks. I saw that heart beating. It was pumping. And I thought to myself, this is my child. I can't. And I said to the doctor, I won't be able to. I'll have to carry on.
And you did, and she came out.
She's 13 now.
No deformity, nothing.
Absolutely no deformity.
Fantastic. Well, through these challenges you had, you began to study to understand exactly what you were going through. And then you say you discovered the integrative treatment, which focuses on the whole person, the spirit, the mind, and the body. Tell us about this integrative treatment.
Like I said, I had my health challenges, and then my older children had grown, but I had this little child. And I remembered my experience. I lost my mother early. Okay. And I know the impact it had on me. So I made up my mind that for this daughter's sake, this child's sake, you have to take care of yourself. You have to be alive for her. She needs a mother. You know how much you needed a mother. Go and get your life in order. And I began to research. I knew that I needed to work things out. I knew I needed to lose weight. I knew I needed to be healthy. I knew, at least within my power, what I could do. You know, I had the trust intact. I was doing the spiritual angle, walking closely with God. But I was eating like, you know how it is. I was eating. I was not I wasn't in a good place physically. So I went and investigated and I researched and I found a course online actually on integrative nutrition. And guess what, Coco? I overhauled my diet. Over the past, I started it about 6-7 years ago. Over that period, I've lost 20 kilograms and it has stayed off.
That's amazing.
It has stayed off. And you know, what I did wasn't anything tedious. I just overhauled my eating style. I started to avoid processed food. I made it wholesome. I made it natural. I still do my swallows, but instead of eating a bar or carbohydrates, I toned down. I swallow cabbages. I'm sure you know. I don't know whether you know about the cabbage, like fufu. I do that. I do a lot of green plantain. Everybody says, but that would be so expensive. We don't have money. I said, but no, that's not true. I keep my food local. Instead of kale, I do ugu.
I know.
Bitter leaf, precisely. Bitter leaf. I kept it local. I kept it wholesome. Instead of the imported walnuts, the pistachio, I'm sure you see those walnuts they sell those black things.
Yeah.
Absolutely healthy. Agbalumo, I kept it natural. I kept it local. Because I thought to myself, processed food.
So even the fruits and vegetables that come from abroad are not too good. That's what you're saying.
They're
because
not.
The
preservatives. They've been on the sea for how many number of weeks? So you can imagine the amount. When you buy an apple, when you're out of the country, within 2 days, it begins to become soggy. How come these ones have been on the ship? Those people are carrying them. And
so sometimes we have challenges with our health, and we've prayed and we should pray, that's fine. But there may be practical steps that we have to take.
There are certainly
overhauling our lifestyle.
Practical steps.
Nutrition.
Emotions. Unforgiveness. The thoughts. Things, listen. I'm sure you know Don Colbert, I think that's what he's called.
Yes.
Don't sweat. The writer, yes. Yeah. Don't sweat the small stuff. And guess what? So many things are small stuff. When you've confronted the death, you'll find out that a lot of things you think are important are not so important. Please believe me. What does it matter if somebody doesn't say hello to you? What does it matter? You know,
if someone doesn't keep in touch all those
why can't you make excuses? Why?
So
this, and everybody has a why. There's a reason why most people are doing the things they're doing. Listen, Coco, when the Bible talks about holding your thoughts captive, I learned how to hold my thoughts captive. I direct you what to think thoughts. Hold it captive to the obedience of Christ. And there was emancipation. It was not that I don't get hurt, not that I don't get offended, but I know what to do with that. I know how to process it. I've become an expert at making excuses for people because I know my own handicap.
Yes, you know what believe the best. And that's what the Bible says, doesn't it? Love believes the best of the other person.
So, and honestly, does it really matter? So what if she doesn't greet you? How does that affect the price of crayfish in the market? You know what I mean?
And you talk about exercise as well. Tell us about that.
Oh, yes. Nothing vigorous. When I was younger, I could do how many hours on the treadmill, the gym, But honestly, all I do, brisk walking for I try to make sure I do 10,000 steps.
Daily.
Daily. So all brisk walking, I just pay attention to my body, exercise, my food, and my thoughts. I make an effort to be nice. I try to practice, I try to let the Holy Spirit take over.
Chadi, we'll take a break now. And when we come back, you're going to talk to us because with the help that God gave you, you're now helping other people. Yes. So you're going to tell us about that aspect of your life and your work. We'll take a break now. And when we come back, we'll conclude our discussion with Chadi Ndu. we're concluding our conversation with Chiadi Ndu, lawyer and counselor, on the importance of mental, emotional, and spiritual wellness. Chiadi, by the way, I keep looking at this book because your story is here in See What the Lord Has Done, a compilation of testimonies that I have put together. So, Chiadi, tell me what BTH Integrated Wellness and Therapy does.
Well, BTH is behind the heart, Integrated Wellness and Therapy. We pay attention to your thoughts, to your body, and to your spirit. This is what makes a human being, holistic perspective of a human being. You see, you'd be amazed. Like I said to you, TEB, the effects your thoughts has on your emotions and the effect your emotions have on your behavior and who you are generally. That is what we try to pay attention to in BTH.
And I know you said something to me. If you can say it, you can slay it.
If you can say it, you can slay it. It's one of my favorite mantras. What it means is that once you can put an experience, a thought, an anxiety, once you can talk about it, you have actually, literally made it powerless.
The problem is half solved.
The problem is half solved. A lot of the time when the problem is a big deal is when you haven't even been able to, you're just thinking about it. It sounds so big. It sounds, if I say this, if I tell that. And then when you eventually say it, it's not such a big deal.
And sometimes what stops us from saying it is we don't feel we have a safe place
to say it.
Yeah. And that's what you provide, isn't it?
Precisely. That's what I try to provide.
You try to provide. And of course, you have the experience. So yes. I can imagine you do connect well with your clients. Precisely. What would you say are the top 3 things that people come to you about? Because I'm sure there are people out there who can identify with what you're saying. And I'm sure they've learned from your story, but there may be also some things that you want to tell them. So from your experience, what are the top 3 things that really give people cause for anxiety?
Anxiety, stress, and depression. It is the serotonin level in most people is so high. A lot of people are there's no certainty. You're not sure of anything. It's a difficult place to live in.
So most of your clients come with issues of depression,
anxiety, and of course, stress.
I know you talked about the place of nutrition, exercise, and also wholesome thoughts.
Relationship with God.
We can't overemphasize that, can we?
You can't.
In addition to that, I'm thinking, because of all this stress, what about leisure? Would leisure help? And laughter? Leisure, laughter.
A merry heart doeth good, like medicine. And honestly, it is critical for us to learn how to laugh.
Because laughter is good medicine, the Bible says, doesn't it? And leisure.
A merry heart doeth good.
So what are the ways we can relax? Because for Christians, many of us live a triangular life. So it's like work, church, maybe school.
For me, I think everybody owes themselves, who are you? You must find out, who are you? Not who does your pastor say you are. Who are you? What do you enjoy doing? What are your strengths? Where are you in your best form? For instance, I like to write. So I keep a journal.
Okay.
I've kept a journal over the years.
And that helps you ventilate.
Sure. Precisely. A lot of the prayers, there are times you can't even pray. You're so angry, you're so upset, you're so afraid. You can't pray. I write letters to God. I keep a journal. Today it's a tough day, Lord. What would exercise? Exercise doesn't have to be anything aggressive. What do you enjoy doing? Like I said to you, what I do is walk. I'm not going, there's no way I'm going to go and play tennis. I don't like tennis, but there's some people that love to play tennis. Some people like to swim.
Yeah, swimming is so relaxing.
It's so
isn't it?
relaxing, precisely.
So, what's your last word to someone out there who is experiencing what you have experienced? What would you just say to them in one sentence?
In one sentence, I'd like to say once more. Once you can say it, you can slay it. It's not such a big deal. Don't sweat the small stuff. You'd be amazed what the next person has been through. You'd be amazed what the next person is going to go through. Nothing is such a big deal. There is someone available to hold your hand and walk with you through this. Once you can say it, you can slay it.
Thank you so much.
But be careful to say it to the right people.
Okay. Wow, Chiadi, it's been very eye-opening, and some issues that have seemed larger than life, you've made very simple. And I'm sure the average person like me can certainly learn so much about a holistic wellness approach to life, body, mind, and spirit. Thank you so much. So we've been speaking to Chiadi Ndu, lawyer and counselor, about the importance of taking care of our bodies and our minds and our spirits. Thank you for being with us on this edition of Colors of Life. Remember to follow us on social media, like us, share this video. At Colors of Life, we seek to know Christ and to make him known.